NBA is horrified of this happening, and frankly, so would I if I was in other NBA franchise. As amidst the struggles with this team, fans are asking Brad Stevens to go and make a move, but a move for an impactful player in Walker Kessler, a guy who's been thrown around the trade rumors, a guy who's been on seemingly the trade block, and he would be an impact piece for this Celtics squad immediately coming in and could change a lot of issues that this team has with its front court and could set up a long-term replacement as well. We're going to be diving in, looking at this possible report, and going over the likelihood of the Celtics pursuing a deal for Walker Kessler in this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support on the channel, letting us know how you truly feel about this Celtics team. We do realize that 72% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything with rumors, post-game videos, weekly live streams like today's with my boy Eamon, make sure to come on through and hit that subscribe button. Like I mentioned, we will be live today at 6 p.m. with my boy Eamon, going over the Celtics last week's struggles, looking at the week forward, and answering any questions you have revolving around this team. But without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand and make sure to grab that snack. And like I said in the introduction, this would be huge and would absolutely scare off the entire NBA if Brad Stevens was able to pull this off. And we're going to be looking at a move that has been brought up by a lot of Celtics fans looking at this front court. Now, we've seen with Kristaps Porziņģis being back, he has been an impactful piece, really stemming and gradually getting better with this team since he's been recovering with injuries. But with the kind of question of should Al Horford start, should Kristaps Porziņģis start, should there be another big man added in to help this rotation, a lot of questions have been around Walker Kessler as his name has garnered the trade block, and should the Celtics go out and acquire him. So we're going to be looking at this article courtesy of one of the more impactful Celtics beat writers, Cameron Tabatabai. I believe I pronounced his last name correctly, from the Celtics Wire and on the Celtics Lab podcast. And we're going to be looking at his article that he made just last week on why the Celtics should swing a big trade for the Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz. And in this article, he says landing Jazz big man Walker Kessler would be an unbelievable coup for the Celtics. Dealing the third-year center this season could benefit Utah too. It's an open secret that the Jazz are more focused on their positioning in the 2025 NBA draft lottery than they are winning games this season. And the prospect of landing a generational talent like Cooper Flagg is too good to ignore. And Utah is one of the several teams vying for the top pick in this draft. And not only if they weren't able to get Cooper Flagg, getting a guy like Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper is what the Utah Jazz want to do. They're at the bottom of the Western Conference right now, and they're in prime position to secure one of those top 3 picks. So why not sell on a big man in Walker Kessler if it's going to potentially give you to that goal? Cam brings up that valid point. He also brings up the point in which where this is where the Celtics come in. The Celtics could use Jaden Springer's $4 million contract, obviously attached with some draft capital, to try to convince Danny Ainge to commit a further deal without losing any trade for Walker to the Hub. And that would be key for the Celtics, obviously getting a little bit of a reunion with Danny Ainge. They're doing a deal. But according to Forbes' Evan Cedery, the Jazz will likely want multiple first-round picks in any Kessler deal. This would be a steep asking price, but worthwhile for the Celtics for multiple reasons. One, what the Celtics desperately need some added rim protection, and Kessler desperately brings that for a Celtics team. We've also seen other people as well, like Cranjus McBasketball, also mention this on Twitter, where Kessler's missed 6 games with a hip injury early this season, but otherwise hasn't missed a game this season. He hasn't certainly been out for rest for once, and he was ruled out for rest last Sunday. And he's continuing here. Utah's opening to moving Kessler, and wonder if Boston is close on a deal. So not only is Cam, but other as well, pointing out that Walker Kessler would be a fantastic fit in Boston. Now, like I mentioned for Kessler, Utah is possibly opening for doing a deal with him, but it would take a lot to get for Walker Kessler. And I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you think the Celtics should go after a guy in Walker Kessler, or do you think the Celtics are fine with their big man? But the next part we're going to be getting into is how could this get done for the Boston Celtics? Well, like I mentioned, They obviously have some tradable contracts, one in Jaden Springer, that could definitely get a deal like this done for the Celtics. If we want to look at this deal, I propose Walker Kessler for Jaden Springer with a first round pick in 2026 and 2 second-round picks. Now, they said that they would want multiple firsts, but I do believe that 2 seconds could equal a first, which would gain multiple firsts being given up by the Celtics, giving up a first in 2026, their second round this year, which is Dallas's pick, which Dallas has been, a little bit rocky this season. So that pick could potentially be a pretty decent playoff pick, middle of the draft pick, high, low 20 pick. And they also could get as well a future pick from Boston in or Portland as well in 2026, which I also think could be a viable pick for the Utah Jazz. Portland is on a little bit of a rebuild, but could still be not at that peak at that moment and could be a valuable pick for Utah. And I think offloading Jaden Springer's contract, Utah would utilize him as a defensive guard, but ultimately it wouldn't give him that much promise. It wouldn't take them over the top, and it would give the Celtics what they need, some extra help in that front court. And like I mentioned, this Celtics team doesn't necessarily need this added big, but it can definitely benefit from it. One, obviously adding a guy like Walker Kessler just off the bench could be useful for the Celtics in running more double big lineups. We've seen that be very effective for this Celtics team with Kristaps and with Luke Kornet, with Al Horford, with Luke Kornet, with Al Horford and Kristaps Porziņģis. And I think adding Walker Kessler to that could ultimately enhance that as well. We've also seen with Kristaps Porziņģis himself that he's dealt with some injuries this season and last season. And we all know next year he's on his last year of his deal. And there have been some speculations and rumors throughout the Celtics fan base, through the fans, that the Celtics could possibly look to move off of a guy in Kristaps Porziņģis to evade those second apron taxes next year. So if that's the case, going out and getting a guy like Walker Kessler now could be some very well needed insurance to getting a guy in the building ready to go, to learning the system and learning what it takes to be an impactful big for the Celtics, so he naturally can grow to be that for this team in the future, regardless if it's next year or the year after that. If we want to look at Kessler's stats on the year, like I mentioned, 10.8 points, 11.4 rebounds. He's an absolute beast on the glass and a fantastic rim protector as well, averaging 2.5 blocks. He makes his shots in the basket, and he's still on that rookie deal, like I mentioned, still 23 years old, and still has tons and tons of potential for this Utah Jazz team. Ultimately, though, they feel with the fact that they want to push for Cooper Flagg and already have some other bigs on this team as well, and young bigs in Kyle Filipowski, Drew Eubanks, John Collins with this team. They don't necessarily need Walker Kessler in this front court. And yes, the Celtics don't necessarily need Walker Kessler as well, but he could be another impactful piece for this team. And another trade that could possibly be thrown down for Walker Kessler as well that I want to bring up is courtesy of Cam himself, which he dropped this one on Twitter, which is a little bit of a different variation than my trade. And in this one, the Celtics get Walker Kessler and Cam Reddish. The Lakers get Namish Queta, and the Utah Jazz get Jaden Springer, 2 seconds, and a first from the Celtics. Similar draft capital from what I used in my mock trade, moving off of Jaden Springer. The Lakers get a big man replacement in not getting Walker Kessler, but getting a guy in Queta who still is young, still has potential, could be a rim protector, could be a true fit for their team. And the Celtics get two pieces they need. Walker Kessler, a rim protecting big, and Cam Reddish, a 3-and-D wing who can shoot on the edge and play some formidable defense for this squad to fill in for guys like Sam Hauser, Jordan Walsh, to be that type of extra wing off the bench. I do want to say on Cam's trade that this is a lopsided Celtics trade in my eyes. It very benefits the Boston Celtics. It does benefit the Lakers and the Jazz as well, and I truly do believe it benefits the Celtics, and I don't necessarily know if teams would be interested in this, and I don't know if personally I would be interested in giving up Namish Queta ultimately, as I still believe he has a ton of potential with this team. But I do think that this is kind of the direction that the Celtics might have to look in, might have to make, even if it's not a guy like Walker Kessler, one of these minor upgrades on the edge to add to this bench unit, to either add some size in the front court, to either ensure some elongated future with this Celtics team, or finding some minimal guys to help out for the now, maybe addressing some wing help as well, some addressing extra shooting off the benches. That has been something that has really hindered this Celtics team in recent performances. But I still think that even though if Walker Kessler isn't the perfect fit, he'd definitely be an upgrade for this team and would be scary for the rest of the league. Let's not forget, if you had a guy in Walker Kessler added onto this unit with Kristaps Porziņģis, Al Horford, Jayson Tatum, Jrue Holiday, Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser. That is a tough 8-man lineup for anyone to run to in the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, the Western Conference over there as well. And I think it would scare the living crap out of everyone around the league and would put the Celtics back into that stratosphere here. So I want to know your thoughts and what you guys ultimately think down below. I don't necessarily think this is a full trade that will happen, but it would be a nice upgrade for the Celtics to add into that front court to have alongside guys like Luke Kornet, Xavier Tillman, Kristaps Porziņģis, Al Horford, and could ensure the Celtics to getting some future young asset to build with this team in that front court in Kessler. But I don't know if the Jazz necessarily give him up for this or if they give him up at all. So I want to know your thoughts and what you guys ultimately feel, how you guys think about this Celtics team. And like I said, we'll be live once again at 6 p.m. Eastern with my boy Eamon, breaking down everything about this Celtics team. So if you guys want to come by, have any questions, want to break down the Boston Celtics, make sure to pop through because it will be a fantastic time. Like I said, Celtics are on tonight as well, so we'll have a post-game video going up following that, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.